The second one is then the other kind of side to this. It's the problem of deduction. So, there's two major kinds of inferences, right? Inductive inferences that allow us to think, and solve problems, and deductive inferences that allows us to come to conclusions and think rationally and solve problems. And so he's looked at the problem of induction. Now he's going to look at the problem of deduction. So he says, let's think about this problem of deduction. Deductive inferences rely on the laws of logic. So when we deduce conclusions, we take the laws of logic and the truths that we know, so the laws of logic and the truths that we know, and we do operations on those truths according to the laws of logic, and we draw other conclusions. And so because the laws of logic are valid, we're able to learn a lot about things that we haven't experienced. So if I know, for instance, he tells us that all men are mortal, and I know that Gary is a man, then I don't have to wait until Gary dies, right? I can tell you now that he's mortal. It follows from the premises. And so that's kind of how the deductive, inferences work.
Right. And can't we see where he's going in a world of complete randomness? Well, to do deductions, you need to be able to identify classes and laws of thought. Or if you want to put it in this way, relationships between the classes and the laws of logic. You can't do deduction without that ability. Without logic, you can't do any academic work or understand anything. Okay, so a big key. So understanding anything, is this something? Yes. Okay, so we need to be able to do this type of deduction. Now you're talking to a materialistic atheist who says that all reality is physical in nature. But if all reality is physical in nature, where is the class or what is the category of humanity? Is that a physical thing? I'm not asking if humans are physical, but he's saying, which he's saying, yes, yes, we are. But is the concept or class known as humanity physical? Well, no, it isn't. And what about the class of mortal things? Is that class physical? He says, well, no, it's not physical.
Right. So we say that all men are mortal and Gary's a man, so what he's getting at here is the class man, all men, humanity, right? Is that class physical? There are individuals that make up that class, but is the class all men or all humanity, is that physical? And he's trying to make out the point that no, that is not physical. Right? So you can't have that in a materialistic only universe.
This is Plato's type of form thing. So are we able to see a person walking down the street who's missing a leg and go, oh, well, they're still human? Well, where?
Yeah, how do we? Yeah.
Where is that? Is their aura? Is that it? Can we look through some crystals and see an aura of humanity, or as someone has lost their humanity? Oh no, right. I've missed it, and now I'm unable to breathe on a windowsill to put a smiley face on because my humanity has gone out from me.
Right. And then he makes the same kind of, move with the concept or the class of mortal things, right? So we know that humans are mortal in each individual, but what about the class of mortal things, right? And so he makes the same type of thing. And then he gives us another illustration, right? He says when the unbeliever wants to do reasoning, let's say mathematical reasoning, he says, well, we know certain relationships such as 2 + 3 = 5. But he tells us here is a philosophical question. Is this character on the page itself 2, right? Is the character on the page 2? If it is, then we could just erase it and there'd be no more 2 in the universe. We got rid of 2, right? Yeah. It says, of course, that particular character wasn't 2. That was just the numeral 2, which is a representation or an instantiation, right? An instance of the concept 2. The concept of 2 is not physical, and that's what his point is here. Yeah. So we have to understand and assume, or at least realize, if we're going, when we're doing math, that we're dealing with concepts that are non-physical. Well, again, the question for the atheistic materialist is how can you have that in a materialistic world, right?
Right.
So how can you have numbers, right?
I like what he says here on page 155. He says, can you go to the refrigerator and say, I'm going to pull 2 out of the refrigerator tonight? 2 what? Never mind that. Not 2 of anything, just 2. So,
yeah. Is it cold?
Yeah,
Will it break if you strike it on the counter? Right?
Sounds like something you do in like Sesame Street. Oh, I'm going to go pull 2 out of the refrigerator. So here you have the unbeliever who's talking about immaterial, non-physical set of things known as human beings and immaterial, non-physical set of things known as mortals and immaterial, non-physical two-ness. And yet he's using the laws of logic, which are not physical, but conceptual. The last step that you say to the atheist is, since for everything that exists must be material or physical, then for you, there can be no laws of logic or classes or concepts. There can be no numbers. There can be no concepts of humanity. There can be no classes of mortal beings. There can be no laws of logic. There can be no classes and no laws of logic. There can be no deduction. And so if you've ever listened to Bonson debate Gordon Stein in kind of the debate he's well known for, this is something in their cross-section debate that he really harps on. And so if you want to go and listen to that, I'll remember to put a link here in the show notes to link that classic debate. And so this idea of okay, well, if everything in the universe is physical, then when I say 2 of things, you're just talking about an utteration from your mouth, but you don't actually mean 2 in the sense that mathematicians think of 2. And so there seems to be an issue with that. And what about the laws of logic? Are those things just mere words, or is that part of reality? Can something exist and not exist at the same time? Well, that seems to be an issue with everything just being reality, and that's all there is, and there's no further discussion needed.
Right. And so the point he's trying to make is, notice he's taken 2 things away from the materialistic atheist. He's taken inductive inferences now and then deductive inferences. And again, his point, as he made at the beginning, is the Christian worldview is the transcendental precondition of intelligibility, right? Precondition. What must be the case, right? What must be assumed for someone to know anything, right? For their experiences to be intelligible. And if we take away induction and deduction, then the atheist can't have, any intelligible understanding of the universe, right? Because they're assuming that there's only physical things that exist. And of course, these things are based on non-physical reality.